Luanda, 1622. The air inside the Portuguese governor's hall is thick with candle smoke and colonial certainty. Nzinga of Ndongo arrives draped in copper and leopard skin, her attendants moving like a slow tide behind her. The insult is deliberate, architectural. One chair at the table, and it belongs to Governor João Correia de Sousa. She is expected to stand, to petition, to diminish. Instead, Nzinga pauses. A single breath of calculation, then gestures to one of her servants, who lowers to hands and knees upon the stone floor. She sits, composed, immovable. Every Portuguese eye in that room understands what has just happened. A woman without a throne has just claimed the room entire. The negotiations have not yet begun, but the first war, the war of posture and will, is already hers. And she is only getting started. Luanda, 1622. The Portuguese governor sits elevated, armored in colonial certainty. Nzinga enters the chamber and finds no chair provided. A calculated humiliation. Without hesitation, she commands one of her attendants to kneel on hands and knees, and seats herself upon his back. She will not beg for dignity. She will manufacture it. Through interpreters, her words arrive measured and lethal, demanding the release of hostages, demanding withdrawal, demanding recognition. She watches every flicker of doubt behind European eyes. Then comes the baptism. Holy water touches her forehead. Priests murmur Latin blessings over African skin. She accepts the Christian name Ana de Sousa with a smile that conceals iron. This is not conversion. This is camouflage. She has learned the colonizer's language of ceremony, and she intends to weaponize it. But the Portuguese have no intention of honoring what they have signed. The drums of Cabaça fall silent. Portuguese muskets crack through dry season air thick with palm smoke and burning thatch. And the great royal city, seat of Angola, heartbeat of Ndongo, collapses into cinder and ash. Nzinga watches from the tree line as her brother's kingdom, already hollowed by suspicion and betrayal, is swallowed whole. She can smell the iron of spilled blood carried on the Kwanzaa wind. She has lost her throne, her court, her people's certainty. Every road behind her is fire. Grief does not break her. It cauterizes something deep, burns away hesitation, as cleanly as flame burns the savanna grass. What remains is harder than grief, colder than sorrow. She turns from the smoke with nothing but her fury, her mind, and a continent of enemies. And she begins to plan. She has no kingdom now. No court, no throne, no army sworn to her name. What she has is will, and the cold calculation of a mind that refuses to break. In the deep bush beyond the Kwanzaa, the Imbangala move like smoke through the tall grass, their bodies scarred with sacred markings, their drums a language older than any treaty. They answer to no king. They consume their enemies and fear nothing that walks. And yet Nzinga walks toward them. She abandons her royal robes, submits to their rites, breathes the same smoke, speaks their oaths. It is a transfiguration that shocks even those who witness it. She is not lost in the transformation. She is sharpened by it. With these wolves at her back, a new kind of reckoning is coming for the Portuguese. The woman who once sat upon a human throne to prove her sovereignty now moves through elephant grass and river mist, with the fluid menace of something ancient and unstoppable. Nzinga of Ndongo is 44 years old, and she has remade herself entirely. Draped in animal skins, her body adorned with iron and copper, she rides the chaos of guerrilla war like a current she was born to navigate. Her Imbangala fighters, scarred, fearless, forged in ritual violence, answer to her alone. Village by village, slaving route by slaving route, she dismantles the Portuguese stranglehold on the Central Territories. The smoke of burning stockades rises above the Kwanza Valley, like a declaration written in fire. Chiefs who once dismissed her as a woman without a kingdom now tremble at the sound of her war drums. But conquest alone will never be enough. The highland air smells of red earth and wood smoke. It is 1631, and Nzinga's warriors pour through the valleys toward Matamba, like a dark river finding its course. Her Imbangala fighters, scarred, disciplined, ferocious, have become her iron fist. The defending queen falls. The royal enclosure is seized. For the first time in years, Nzinga stands not as a fugitive but as a sovereign, her feet planted on ground that answers to her name. Drummers sound her titles across the hills. A captured throne becomes her own. She rebuilds the court with deliberate ceremony, the rituals, the protocol, the architecture of legitimacy. Matamba is no mere refuge. It is a foundation stone. And with a kingdom finally at her back, Nzinga turns her eyes toward something far more dangerous, reclaiming what the Portuguese took from her. The court of Matamba breathes with hard-won power. Smoke from ceremonial fires curls through thatched rafters strung with leopard pelts and captured Portuguese standards, trophies of a woman the colonizers once presumed to bury. Nzinga sits enthroned on carved ebony, draped in copper and indigo cloth, her Imbangala guard ranked behind her like a storm waiting to break. Before her, a Portuguese envoy reads his governor's terms aloud, parchment trembling in his hands. She does not lean forward. She does not flinch. Every trade route between the interior and the Atlantic coast now passes through her sovereign will, and both sides of this room understand it. The balance of power, shifted inch by blood-soaked inch across a decade of exile, has quietly and irrevocably changed. What she chooses to do with that power will reshape the Atlantic world entirely. Across the Atlantic, the tides of empire are shifting. In 1641, Dutch warships descend upon Luanda like iron storm clouds, their cannon fire swallowing the Portuguese fort whole. For Nzinga, watching from her highland court in Matamba, this is not catastrophe. It is calculation. She dispatches her warriors southward, their war drums answering Dutch muskets along the fever-bright banks of the Kwanza. The salt smell of gunpowder mingles with red laterite dust as two worlds, so utterly foreign to each other, briefly march as one. She understands, with the cold clarity of a survivor, that the Dutch are instruments, not saviors. Every handshake conceals a ledger. Yet the Portuguese grip on Central Africa's throat has never been so close to breaking. Whether this fragile, dangerous union can hold long enough to finish the work, that question will define everything that follows. The news arrives like a blade through smoke. In 1648, a Portuguese fleet reclaims Luanda from the Dutch, and with it, Nzinga's most powerful gambit collapses into ash. The alliance she spent years weaving, patient, meticulous, costly, unravels in a single tide. Deep in the highland forests of Matamba, drumbeats carry the bitter truth upriver. She stands among her counselors in the flickering torchlight. The smell of damp earth and burning palm oil thicken the air around her. Her face betrays nothing. Those who have survived beside her recognize the stillness, not despair, but calculation. She has lost Luanda. She has lost the Dutch, But Nzinga of Matamba has never confused a setback for an ending. Already, somewhere behind those iron eyes, a new strategy is taking shape. The year is 1657. Smoke from ceremonial fires drifts across the highland plateau of Matamba, carrying the scent of frankincense and red earth. A woman in her late 70s, draped in copper and raffia, receives the Portuguese envoys, not as a supplicant, but as a sovereign. Nzinga Mbande has outlasted 11 colonial governors, 2 exiles, and decades of calculated betrayal. The peace she negotiates this season is entirely hers. Matamba remains unbroken, its borders intact, the bleeding flow of enslaved souls through her lands finely checked. She has bent the machinery of empire through sheer force of will, intelligence, and savage endurance. No army has ever taken her. No treaty has ever humbled her. History has tried, repeatedly, to erase this woman. It has failed. But what she builds next will prove even harder to destroy.